Our story begins with Mikoto, the wandering traveler who never settles in one place. He roams from one village to another, carrying on his shoulders a single, unwavering purpose: hunting down ghouls and exterminating them. As he continued his journey, he eventually reached the outskirts of a city known as Arslan, and no sooner had he taken his very first steps inside its walls than a girl suddenly dashed toward him, breathless and seized by sheer panic. The girl stopped before him abruptly, pleading in a voice wrapped in desperation and urgency. "Hide me from the hands of the guards chasing after me, and I shall reward you for this favor with the finest of gifts." This girl was none other than Saltarine, the princess of Arslan, well known for escaping from her guards every couple of days, driven by a wild desire to slip outside the city and wander the world in search of its wonders. Such boundless ambition, her constant escapes were nothing more than a desperate attempt to fulfill her dream of travel and freedom. It wasn't long before the guards arrived, searching for the runaway princess. They questioned Mikoto about her, but with sharp wit and calm composure, he hid Saltarine without revealing her whereabouts. The guards eventually left empty-handed, and once they were far enough, Saltarine emerged from her hiding spot with deep gratitude painted across her face. She thanked Mikoto for concealing her, and offered him a reward in the form of delicious food. She took him to a sweet shop and bought him a pie. What a stingy princess. After that, she gave him a tour of the city, and it was clear that the townsfolk adored Saltarine, and were fully accustomed to her constant attempts at escaping from the guards. To them, it was nothing unusual. After a while, they both returned to the palace, where Saltarine prepared dinner for Mikoto. She told him, "I've prepared dinner for you and brightened your mood. Now tell me a little about yourself and your adventures." For she longed to leave the town, finding it unbearably dull. Mikoto warned her that the world outside was dangerous, and that she would get hurt. But Saltarine didn't believe him. Sadness welled up inside her, and she quietly said that it was getting late and she should sleep. Yet on the other side of the city, enormous hordes of ghouls had already gathered, preparing to invade and overrun the kingdom. The next morning, Mikoto and Saltarine were walking together when she confessed her urgent desire to accompany him on his travels. Mikoto replied with a stern warning, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "This path is extremely difficult, and it may cost you your life." The instant Saltarine heard this firm caution, fear seeped into her heart, and she abandoned the thought that had been lingering in her mind. Meanwhile, one of the ghouls had made his way to the royal palace in secret, disguising himself as an ordinary citizen who wished to see the king for some trivial matter. Once he entered the throne room, he removed his hat, revealing massive horns that caused the king to recoil in terror. Trembling, the king asked, "Are you a ghoul?" The ghoul let out a horrifying, mocking laugh and answered with absolute confidence, "Exactly, and I am here to deliver a clear message. You will give us 30 victims every month, or I will wipe out your entire kingdom and everyone in it." The king shook violently from overwhelming fear, completely unsure of how to deal with such a disaster. One of the shocked soldiers attempted to threaten the ghoul, but in less than a single second, the ghoul struck him down and killed him effortlessly. The ghoul then turned back to the king and said coldly, "No, don't count this one among the 30 victims," before leaving the palace as if nothing had happened. As the ghoul exited the palace, he caught sight of Mikoto walking beside Saltarine. The ghoul's entire body trembled with fear, his expression twisting in absolute panic before he bolted away from the palace, eager to flee before Mikoto noticed him. But what was the secret behind such sudden terror? Mikoto caught a glimpse of the fleeing ghoul. The moment he turned his face toward him, his entire demeanor shifted. The gleam in his eyes vanished, his expression darkened with ominous intent, and his presence radiated an unsettling aura, as though he was about to unleash something catastrophic. Saltarine turned toward him to speak, only to find that he had already disappeared. Terrified and confused, Saltarine rushed toward the palace, drawn by the commotion and shouting echoing from within. Inside, the king was utterly lost, unable to decide how to respond to the impending calamity. The people were divided. Some demanded war and confrontation, while others believed they must offer sacrifices to avoid total destruction. When the king saw his daughter Saltarine, he sighed deeply and said, "I must confess something to you. Haven't you always asked to leave this country? Very well, I grant you permission now." Shocked, Saltarine asked with disbelief, "What is happening?" At that very moment, the soldiers' voices rose in alarm. "A massive army of monsters is about to invade the kingdom." Saltarine ran forward to see them for herself, when suddenly something strange began happening to her. She wondered anxiously, "What is this? My eyes, they hurt. My body feels hot. I must go to the front and observe." At the same time, the ghoul who fled earlier had reached his allies. When the enormous, hulking ghoul saw his terrified face, he asked in confusion, "What happened to you? Why has your face gone pale like this?" The fleeing ghoul replied in fear, "Do you remember when I told you about that man who destroyed my homeland and annihilated all the ghouls there?" The giant ghoul answered, "Yes, I remember that well." The fleeing ghoul then shouted, "He's here. We must cancel the plan and escape immediately." But the giant ghoul looked ahead calmly and pointed, asking, "Do you mean that one over there?" The fleeing ghoul turned, and upon seeing Mikoto, fear consumed him once again. Mikoto stood firmly in place, fully resolved to exterminate them all. The enormous ghoul felt an odd surge of excitement and roared in challenge. "Then come to me!" At that moment, Saltarine arrived and cried out to Mikoto, begging him to run away. But Mikoto glanced at her and said coolly, "I'm sorry, but I'm busy right now." The giant ghoul lunged at Mikoto, but in the blink of an eye, Mikoto had already severed his arm. The ghoul crashed to the ground, bleeding heavily and unable to move. Then Mikoto calmly tied his hair back, and with his eyes shifting into a terrifying new color, he charged at the remaining ghouls. One by one, he slaughtered them with overwhelming power. Saltarine stood frozen in shock and horror, witnessing the monstrous strength that Mikoto possessed. After finishing the battle, Mikoto decapitated the giant ghoul and spoke to him mockingly as he drew his last breaths. "And you're the last one. What is this strength you boast about? Where did it even come from?" Once he wiped them all out, Mikoto turned to Saltarine and said, "It's over." His face returned to normal, and he flashed her a victory sign with his fingers. Saltarine thought to herself, "He's supposed to be a hero for saving the kingdom. But must a hero really be this terrifying?" Before she could finish her thoughts, a dog appeared, carrying Mikoto's belongings as if telling him, "Let's go." Mikoto wiped the blood off himself and walked away from the city without hesitation. Saltarine tried to chase after him to stop him, but she couldn't move past the overwhelming number of corpses blocking her path. A full month had passed since that incident, and Saltarine was still confined within the walls of the city, haunted by a single persistent thought. What would have happened if I had decided to go with him back then? This question awakened a powerful resolve within her. Gathering all her strength, she went to the king, her father, and declared with unwavering determination, "I have made my decision. I will abandon my position as princess, and I shall leave this land to travel across every corner of it." Without hesitation, she grabbed a lock of her hair and cut it before his eyes, a testimony to her firm resolve. She announced boldly, "I am leaving, without fail." Seeing her steadfastness and iron determination, the king realized that keeping her any longer had become impossible. He granted her permission to leave and bid her farewell. Saltarine then prepared her bags for the journey, and thus begins the young princess's new adventure, to discover the outside world and depart from everything she once knew. As Saltarine set out on her journey, she was startled to find a strange creature lying on the ground, half human, half animal. Its appearance was astonishing enough to make her murmur to herself, "I should stay away from these strange and frightening things." She was about to walk away, but then she heard a faint squeaking sound coming from the creature's stomach, like the whimper of hunger. Moved by compassion, she decided to offer the creature a carrot to eat. She sat beside it, and the two exchanged a few words. Saltarine then discovered that this rabbit-like creature's name was Frau. Frau devoured the carrot with overwhelming joy, for after all, she was still a rabbit, completely unable to resist such delicious food. As they sat together, Saltarine pulled out a drawing of Mikoto and showed it to Frau, asking, "Have you seen this man before?" Frau stared at the drawing with blank, uncomprehending eyes before saying with almost painful honesty, "No, I haven't seen him." Saltarine replied, "Very well, I shall continue my journey now." But the moment she began to walk away, she found Frau following her, calling out, "I will travel with you. That is the price of the carrot." Saltarine responded dismissively, "Don't bother, leave me alone." But Frau warned her, traveling alone is extremely dangerous. In the end, Saltarine accepted the logic behind her words, and the two of them decided to travel together. They eventually arrived at a village and entered it. The villagers welcomed Saltarine warmly, but they immediately drove Frau away because of her half-animal appearance and unusual form. Here, Saltarine's noble heart shone through. She refused to enter alone and instead left with Frau outside the village gates. And if you think they gave up, you're mistaken. They returned once again, but this time, Frau wore a wide cloak that completely concealed her long ears, hoping no one would recognize her. They carefully sneaked back into the village, trying their best to avoid being noticed. But after only a short walk, the village chief caught them. Strangely enough, and due to Frau's disguise, he did not recognize her at all. I truly don't know how he failed to notice, my friend. Perhaps his mind was foggy, or exhaustion had taken its toll. The chief escorted them to his home to honor and welcome them. Saltarine sat eating with the man, while Frau was completely absorbed in munching on her carrots inside the room. After the meal, Saltarine questioned the chief with clear suspicion. Why all this excessive generosity and kindness toward us? Do you intend to make us your servants or what? The man replied calmly and sorrowfully, as though recalling a painful memory. No, my daughter, until just a few days ago, monsters plagued this village. They attacked us relentlessly and devoured our people mercilessly. He continued, but a lone traveler passed through our lands, slaughtered all those monsters, and saved the village from certain destruction. That is why our people now live in safety and peace. And of course, after witnessing the heroism of that wandering traveler, I decided that from now on, I would welcome every passerby who enters our village, said the village chief with his respectful tone as he recounted the story to Saltarine about their savior. Here, Saltarine realized that this savior could only have been Mikoto, so she asked the chief about him. The kind man replied that Mikoto had already left and that he did not know where he had gone afterward. Saltarine simply said, very well, then asked him why the villagers hated demi-humans so deeply. The chief answered clearly, because they are mindless beasts and they pose a great threat to humans. Saltarine replied, very well, and left him to go to her room to sleep. But before she closed her eyes, her conscience began tormenting her. After all, she had deceived this generous man by sneaking Frau into his home without telling him her true identity. Yet in the end, she decided to postpone this guilt until later. Saltarine slept, and the next morning she awoke to the terrified screams of the villagers shouting, "A monster! A monster is attacking the village." She rushed toward the source of the cries, feeling something strange coursing through her body. She glanced at her hands and noticed her eyes shifting colors in a suspicious, unsettling way. She whispered to herself, "Something truly strange is happening to me." The monster cornered Saltarine, about to finish her off, until Frau intervened swiftly and smashed its skull. She then declared with proud sarcasm, "All that's left is the rooster to brag about fighting." At that moment, a squad of soldiers happened to be passing near the village and witnessed Frau's overwhelming strength. They were amazed, but the villagers, overcome with fear, saw nothing in Frau but a monster. Terrified, they ordered her to leave immediately. Saltarine tried to defend her companion, but all her attempts failed. Frau approached the kind man who had hosted them the previous night and said to him gratefully, "Thank you for the dinner." Then she left, and Saltarine left with her. As they continued on their way, the same group of soldiers who had witnessed Frau's strength suddenly appeared and arrested them both. Yes, both of them were taken to the kingdom of Ramadan and thrown into prison to answer for what they had done. But moments later, Hawthorne entered the cell to free them. He told them that they were arrested because humans were not allowed to travel with demi-humans. Then he added that he knew the truth. He had seen Frau bravely defend Saltarine, and the village elder had thanked her. For that reason, he had come to release them. So why did he arrest them in the first place? Perhaps he was suffering from emotional emptiness. Both Saltarine and Frau felt extremely hungry, so they said to Hawthorne with strange logic, "Since you arrested us, you are responsible for getting us something to eat." Hawthorne smiled and replied, "Very well," then took them to the village to get them lunch. He warned them, "Lunch only, please. Don't ask me to join you for dinner as well." They assured him, "Don't worry." While they were walking down the street, a group of small children approached them. They turned to Hawthorne, assuming Saltarine was his lover, and said to him with laughter, "You really know how to choose, you fool. She's beautiful." Saltarine quickly snapped back in refusal. "His lover? Never. He's not my type at all." The children burst into laughter and ran off. Meanwhile, Frau wasn't paying attention to anything. They were too busy chomping on carrots. At the very same moment, two powerful ghouls arrived at the kingdom of Ramadan, ready to begin their attack. The small girl was named Mickey, and the large ghoul was called Set. Mickey possessed the power of a cannon sealed within her eye, and she began concentrating her energy, preparing to destroy the gate. Mickey fired the cannon. Everything before her exploded violently, and all the people standing in front of Saltarine were instantly killed. After releasing that massive energy blast, Mickey's strength was completely drained, causing her to transform into a small child for 5 minutes. Set seized the opportunity to take over the kingdom alone and rushed toward everyone to slaughter them. Some desperate soldiers tried to stop Set's advance, but they were like fools pushing against a wall. Could they not see the size of this elephant? Set didn't give them long. Within moments, he slaughtered them and smashed their heads with brutal strikes. At that critical moment, Saltarine felt her body burning with fever, her eyes twisting into a terrifying form. She rushed toward the ghoul without thinking. Hawthorne tried to hold her back and stop her madness, but she couldn't hear a single word he said. Set saw her charging toward him and moved to attack her, but Frau leapt in to protect her, delivering a swift kick, yet it didn't affect him in the slightest. That disgusting ghoul needed an entire army to handle him. Frau shouted at Hawthorne, "Take Saltarine and run! I'll take care of this!" Frau launched attack after attack against Set, all to no avail. At the same time, Hawthorne began evacuating the villagers from danger, but when he looked around, he found that Saltarine had vanished. Of course, we all know exactly where she had gone. At that moment, Frau was on the verge of death. Set had prepared a finishing blow meant to end her life, and Frau had nearly surrendered to her fate. But Saltarine's voice tore through the despair as she yelled, "Don't you dare give up, Frau!" These words gave Frau just enough strength to gather her remaining power and land a mighty strike on the ghoul, yet immediately after, she collapsed unconscious. Such is the expected outcome for anyone who takes Saltarine's advice during life and death situations. When Set saw Saltarine, he sneered mockingly, "You came again? Very well. Come and receive your punishment," and charged toward her to kill her. Saltarine felt her body grow hotter, her eyes shifting even more. Her condition had reached a catastrophic point. Set attacked her, yet in a single swift movement from Saltarine, his massive arm flew off. What a miracle. At last, this girl showed some usefulness. Elsewhere, Miki, the second ghoul, sat under a tree outside the kingdom, waiting for her strength to return so she could launch another attack. Suddenly, Makoto appeared before her, saying in a chillingly calm voice, "Hello." The girl froze in shock. She hadn't sensed anyone behind her. Makoto sliced the tree in half with a single stroke and said, "Prepare yourself. I'm going to cut you down now." Miki's face shifted through every shade of shock and terror. Then Makoto added coldly and with deadly arrogance, "If I kill you now, while you're this weak, I won't feel any joy in the fight. Wait until your full power returns, then I'll kill you." What a humiliation indeed. Back to Saltarine, who was smiling with the confidence of a victor after severing Set's arm. But Set let out a loud, furious laugh and challenged her. "I'll kill you regardless." He charged forward, delivering a punch with all his strength. But Saltarine blocked it with a single hand, effortlessly. At this moment, Miki's power was nearly restored, and she decided it was time to begin her battle with Makoto. The two stood face to face, ready for a decisive confrontation. Miki unleashed the power of the ghoul eye within her, activating a new force called Sendo. Several glowing eyes appeared around her, and she sent one of them out to call for reinforcements. As for Set, after realizing that Saltarine was far stronger than him, he growled angrily, "Then I'll show you my cannon, fully charged." He gathered all his strength into his cannon, aiming to finish her in a single blast, and detonated the entire area, believing he had finally killed Saltarine. What an absolute fool. But Saltarine emerged from the cloud of smoke completely unharmed, as if nothing had happened at all. She gave him a faint smile, and then instantly ended his life with her sword. Set finally met his end, and the battle came to a close. Saltarine looked at him with wide eyes, but she could not remain standing for long. She collapsed immediately from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Miki heard the explosion caused by Set before his death and exclaimed, surprised, "What was that sound? Did Set use his cannon? Who could he be fighting in there?" Suddenly, Makoto said to her coldly, "Focus on me," and sliced her in half. Yet it was only an illusion. Miki was still alive and preparing to face him. Makoto dominated the battle, and in one move, he destroyed all of Miki's eyes at once. Shocked by his overwhelming strength, she asked helplessly, "How are you this incredibly powerful?" Makoto replied with blatant mockery, "You're weak." Then he added with even sharper ridicule, "You have nothing left now except your cannon. Don't worry, I won't run." And he stabbed his sword into his own leg. Miki, enraged by his insult, fired her cannon at him, but it had absolutely no effect on Makoto. After that, Miki's energy ran out, and she reverted into her childlike form once again. Makoto kicked her twice as if she were nothing more than a ball, but before finishing her off, he suddenly recalled memories from his childhood and refrained from killing her. Instead, he blinded her monstrous eyes and snapped her horn, stripping her of the ghoul power she once possessed. As Makoto left the area, his dog appeared. Yes, astonishingly, a talking dog. The dog said to him, "I smell Saltarine inside, and it seems she possesses the same power as you, Makoto." Makoto, shocked, replied, "I'm truly shocked, deeply shocked." Then he added, "Let's go," and the two left. After a full day, Saltarine awoke in her bed with Frau beside her. At first, terror seized her. She believed Set was still alive. But Hawthorne reassured her and told her that she was the one who had defeated him. Frau recounted everything that had happened, and Saltarine could not believe she had done all that. She doubted it, saying, "There must be some mistake." Hawthorne told her calmly, "I need you and Frau with me for something important." And he brought them to the guards. The guards were extremely impressed with them for saving the kingdom and paid no attention at all to Frau being a demi-human. Hawthorne led them to the prison to show them Miki, whom he had found unconscious outside the kingdom. He pointed out that Miki was a dangerous ghoul and could attack them again at any time. This was the reason he had summoned Saltarine and Frau, as they were the only ones capable of facing her. Saltarine immediately agreed and entered to see Miki. Miki woke up and backed away in fear, refusing to speak, and said bitterly, "I am a ghoul, and when my power returns, I will kill you all." She gathered what little strength she had left and threw a weak punch at Frau. But after seeing Mickey, Saltarine found herself drawn to her personality and strength. She said, "Tell me your story." Mickey said sorrowfully that she would have been fine if not for the boy who had beaten her, broken her horn, and left her behind. Saltarine was shocked, yet thrilled at the same time, because she realized that Mickey was talking about Mikoto. Saltarine warned her, "Don't you know that the guards execute ghouls?" Mickey looked down in defeat and said, "It makes no difference. Life has been cruel enough already." These two words stirred Saltarine's emotions. With gentle determination, she said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." Within seconds, Saltarine ordered Frau to break the cell door open. She grabbed Mickey and escaped with her. The guards rushed to Hawthorne and informed him that the ghoul had escaped. Hawthorne asked calmly, "Are Saltarine and Frau safe?" The guards replied in disbelief. "They are the ones who helped her escape, man." Hawthorne and the guards charged after them in pursuit. He reached them while running, trying desperately to stop them, but Frau fell off the horse's back. Hawthorne shouted after them at the top of his voice, yet none of them paid him the slightest attention. One of the guards hurried over and brought Hawthorne a horse so he could catch up to them at the kingdom's gate. But in a single instant, the entire place was blasted off the face of the earth. Everyone froze in shock, unable to grasp what had just happened. Before they could even begin to process it, a masked ghoul appeared beside them. This was the reinforcement Mickey had summoned. His name was Sumeragi, known as the Masked Ghoul. Sumeragi approached Mickey with mocking tone and obvious disdain. "I didn't realize that destroying a human kingdom was this difficult for you all, but hold on, only 3 humans died." No, I mean 4. He was referring to the 4th, Mickey herself. Mickey snapped back sharply. "Are you insane? I'm a ghoul just like you." Sumeragi responded with scorn. "Where is your horn? Where are your eyes? You are nothing but a human now, and like them, you will die." Mickey collapsed to the ground, drained of hope, and said helplessly, "Fine, do whatever you want and kill me." And as Sumeragi prepared to end her life, Saltarine burst onto the scene shouting, "Who do you think you're about to kill, you bastard? Anyone who dares lay a finger on this girl while I stand here, I'll shred him to pieces." She laughed boldly, and Frau stepped forward to stand beside her. Saltarine whispered to Frau with desperate trembling, "What are we supposed to do now, Frau? My ankles feel loose, and my knees are knocking together." Frau answered with fake encouragement, "Don't worry, Saltarine, you're strong. Didn't you defeat that other ghoul?" Sumeragi overheard their entire conversation and rushed toward them to kill them before they continued their chatter. But before he could touch them, a voice echoed inside his mind. "Wait, do not kill her." Sumeragi obeyed the command instantly, turned around, and left them unharmed. After he disappeared, Saltarine and Frau sat staring at the kingdom, now reduced to complete ruins. They began recalling their memories. Then Saltarine, looking around, said, "What is this? We've got someone here who is mentally destroyed beyond repair." She meant Hawthorne. Saltarine walked up to Hawthorne and slapped him hard, saying sharply, "Wake up and pull yourself together. Be strong, Hawthorne. We have no food, no weapons, no water, and we want to eat." Hawthorne, shaken by her harshness and by their bleak reality, finally regained his senses. They all decided to head toward a neighboring kingdom, which Mickey had recommended, since she had studied the region before her attempted attack. They reached the village and entered an inn to rent a room. But the innkeeper refused instantly, saying, "There is no place for demi-humans to stay in my inn." At that moment, Hawthorne stepped in and said, "Don't worry, I'll handle this." And indeed, he managed to handle it, convincing the man to let them stay. They went up to the room, and Hawthorne took out his wallet, handed it to Saltarine, and warned her in desperate frustration, "Go buy us some food with this. But I warn you, do not spend it all. This is all I have left in this world. Ever since I met you, misfortune has chased me relentlessly. My money vanished. The kingdom collapsed. Why is your bad luck this catastrophic, Saltarine?" She replied with a mocking laugh. "Don't worry, I'll return with the wallet completely empty," and walked out. After Saltarine left to buy food, Hawthorne sat on the ground, drowning in his sorrow, and said bitterly, "I am a soldier prepared to die for my duty. Yet the very people I dedicated my life to protecting are dead. Everything vanished in a single second." He added weakly, "I can no longer pretend to be brave." Frau approached him and gently patted his head, reassuring him softly, "Don't worry, you're strong enough, and we are your support." Hawthorne regained a bit of his strength and said, "You're right," then stood up, hoping to lighten the mood. Mickey watched the scene with deep astonishment. How could Frau treat humans with such kindness? She asked her in admiration, "How are you like this? You're one of a kind among demi-humans. You're incredibly beautiful." Frau explained that she had been oppressed and treated horribly by humans her entire life, until she met Saltarine, who changed her world for the better. And because of that, she changed as well. Mickey was convinced by her words, and her admiration for Saltarine grew even stronger. She asked Frau to give her a name she could be called by. So Frau named her Carrot, and Mickey accepted the name happily. Meanwhile, Saltarine was walking through the street, thinking about everything that had happened during her travels. she said to herself. Ever since I left home, everything keeps falling apart. I don't know if it's my bad luck or just the stupidity of others. She sat down to reflect and think about a purpose for her journey. While she was sitting, she heard a familiar voice approaching. She looked up, and it was Makoto. Yes, the long-awaited moment of their reunion had finally come. Makoto said to her politely, "Your hair looks beautiful after cutting it, by the way." Saltarine replied, her face turning red with embarrassment. "Thank you. That's kind of you." Then she asked Makoto a deep existential question. Why is there such division between species? Humans hate demi-humans and fight them. Ghouls hate humans and kill them. Why is the world like this? Makoto offered her a theory that sounded harsh. Imagine a demi-human kills a child's mother right in front of him. That child grows up with hatred burning in his heart. If that child kills the demi-human who killed his mother, no one would blame him. But would the hatred stop there? Of course not. He will keep killing all of them until the very last one. Then he finished coldly. Just a theory, of course. Saltarine stood there thinking deeply about his words, then declared, "I've made my decision and found the purpose of my journey. I will try to unite all species and stop the conflict between everyone." Makoto warned her, "The path will be filled with the worst impurities and hardships." But Saltarine answered with steady resolve, "I can endure a little pain." She then asked Makoto to travel with her, but he refused, saying, "I prefer the ease of traveling alone." She simply replied, "All right," and Makoto continued on his way. As he walked, his dog said to him, "She's still looking at you. Why don't you look back at her, man?" Makoto answered, "If I look back, it'll be like telling her, I want to go with you, and I don't want that." Elsewhere, a man named Sumeragi, the same man who had stopped Sumeragi from attacking Saltarine, was confronting the masked ghoul. Sumeragi asked him, "Why did you stop me? I was about to finish her." Sumeragi replied sternly, "I saved you. You have no idea how strong she is. She would have killed you." Sumeragi asked him, "And who told you to stop me?" Sumeragi answered bluntly, "You'll find out soon. It seems the matter involves major conspiracies." At that moment, the scene returned to Hawthorne, who noticed a small child approaching him. The child walked up to him and asked, "Are you still alive?" Then hugged him. The boy began telling his story. He had been guarding the library as usual when a woman suddenly emerged, looked at him with a terrifying gaze, and then he found himself transported into the forest. Filled with fear, he wandered until he reached the city. Hawthorne realized from the boy's account that the one who saved him was the forest witch. When Saltarine heard the word witch, she said to Hawthorne with excitement, "We have to go thank her, or do you want to deny her kindness, soldier?" Of course, she didn't care about the soldier or the kindness. She just wanted to meet the witch. Everyone rested for the night, preparing to visit her in the morning. But Carrot slipped away secretly in the middle of the night and met with Sumeragi, who offered to restore her ghoul powers, on the condition that she provide him with enough information about Saltarine. She hesitated in confusion, torn between fear and loyalty, but the fear he instilled in her eventually pushed her to accept his vague conditions. The next day, the group reached the witch's dwelling, which turned out to be nothing more than a towering, colossal tree. They entered what resembled a juice tavern, where they were welcomed by Winnie, who said, "You've honored us with your presence." She examined them closely, then remarked with sarcastic amusement, "I see here a human, a demi-human, and a ghoul. Is this a farm, or a cocktail of species?" Saltarine cut her off eagerly. "That doesn't matter right now. What matters is that you teach us magic as quickly as possible." Winnie served them drinks, claiming her heart was kind and generous. But could she really be trusted? She was moments away from charging them for both their past and their future. Hawthorne asked her why she had saved the boy. Winnie explained that she had been in the library by coincidence when she sensed a massive energy heading toward the city. She stepped outside and found the boy there, so she saved him. Hawthorne, grateful, said, "You saved a soldier from my kingdom. You have my deepest thanks, Winnie." She blushed, replying shyly, "You're welcome." Saltarine asked her about magic and spells, and Winnie replied that there were many types, offensive and defensive. Saltarine said quickly, "Then teach me anything." When Hawthorne asked her why, Saltarine explained that since the beginning of her journey, she was neither good at sword fighting like him, nor physically strong like Frau, and she needed a way to defend herself and her friends. Frau, believing in her, said, "You're strong, Saltarine. You're the one who defeated Set." But Saltarine replied, "I don't even remember defeating him." Winnie declared, "Very well, I'll teach you magic on 3 conditions. First, you must never speak of what happens here to anyone. Second, you must obey me without question. And third, you must pay me $1 million in cash." Saltarine was shocked and exclaimed, "A million what? I can barely afford my meals. How am I supposed to pay that?" Winnie, softening her stance, said, "Fine. Considering your situation, I'll accept all the money you're carrying with you." Saltarine stared at Hawthorne, who said straightforwardly, "I'm not giving you anything." She pleaded, "Hawthorne, am I more important, or is the money?" Replied coldly, "The money, obviously." Disheartened, Saltarine asked Hawthorne to teach her swordsmanship instead, although the connection between the two things was questionable. Perhaps it was simply the limit of their miserable budget. They went outside and Hawthorne handed her a stick to attack him with. Saltarine lunged at him with all her strength, but Hawthorne blocked her strike effortlessly. Meanwhile, Carrot remembered Sumeragi's words, "Look at them through your sendo eye," and when she did, she saw that Saltarine possessed enormous magical energy. Shock overwhelmed her at the magnitude of what she discovered. The day passed and the group prepared to leave, but Winnie reminded them that it had gotten late and invited them to spend the night in her tavern. They all happily accepted, except for Hawthorne, whom Winnie called over to show him something privately. After drinking 2 glasses, Winnie was about to go to sleep when Frau entered. It became clear from their conversation that they had known each other for a long time. Winnie scolded her. "I haven't seen you in 3 years, my friend. You changed your form, abandoned your power, and now you're living like a human-like creature." Frau replied simply, "Yes." Frau asked Winnie to teach Saltarine magic. Winnie answered, "The requests of a friend are commands, but you will pay the million as well. Take your time collecting it. I'm in no rush." Frau happily agreed. They ended their conversation, and Winnie served Frau a refreshing carrot juice, something to calm the bones of your rabbit side. The next day, Winnie began teaching Saltarine the basics of magic, and Saltarine was overjoyed. But Winnie made her run with Frau until she was out of breath, then had her practice sword fighting with Hawthorne. Saltarine protested, "Where's the magic in all of this?" Winnie glared at her sternly and said, "Rule number 2, you follow orders without discussion." Saltarine obeyed, removed her jacket, and continued training with Hawthorne. He told her, "Don't worry, I won't lay a hand on you." But as she attacked him, Hawthorne suddenly remembered what he had seen the night before. Winnie had shown him a vision of Saltarine killing Set, and told him that anyone with such overwhelming energy is called a monster. Hawthorne replied to her, "But this girl has a kind heart." Winnie challenged him, "I want to see how you handle her." Back to the fight. Saltarine fainted, and Hawthorne dropped her to the ground. He said, "This is one of the basics of swordsmanship. Knocking you down with my leg." Winnie watched them, murmuring, "You gave birth to a good boy, Moria. Hawthorne protects Saltarine just as your grandfather protected my grandmother. Damn it. Can you believe she's her granddaughter?" Suddenly, 2 figures appeared, one from the lizard folk and the other from the elf race. They came to Winnie, seeking her help in eliminating a sealed ghoul in the forest. She took them inside and asked for details. They explained that a ghoul had destroyed a neighboring kingdom 2 days ago, and as judges of their land, it was their duty to protect it. Winnie agreed to go with them to break the seal, but on one condition. Saltarine and her friends had to come along. They reached the location, and Winnie began breaking the seal placed on the ghoul. Saltarine tried talking to her, but the lizard man snapped sharply, "She is working. Stay back. Enough of your meddling." Saltarine chatted casually with the lizard man, and Frau and Mickey observed that she truly made no distinction between species. Meanwhile, Hawthorne approached the elf captain and asked about his soldiers. He hadn't seen them during the battle. The captain told him that elves specialized in shooting arrows and were hiding among the trees. Hawthorne exploded angrily. "So you intend to sacrifice the lizard folk while your army hides in the trees?" Saltarine heard this and joined the argument, shouting at the elf captain, "How disgusting your words are!" The captain was stunned. Saltarine shouted again, "How can you be such a coward? Be a man! Stop acting like a child!" Before Saltarine could finish, a ghoul dressed in priestess robes appeared, Milia. Everyone was shocked. They had expected the sealed ghoul, not her. Milia noticed Mickey and assumed she had betrayed the ghouls and sided with the others. She said, "I will destroy you." Saltarine heard her and shouted, "I'm the one who dragged her here. If you want to blame anyone, blame me." Milia, furious, removed her hat. "I truly don't understand why they wear hats if they're just going to remove them anyway." She attacked them with her hair, but Frau blocked the strike. Elsewhere, Sumeragi and Sumeragi were the masterminds behind all these problems. Sumeragi had sent Milia to test Saltarine's strength and that of the sealed ghoul. Sumeragi saw Mikoto passing by and said joyfully, "Good, I'm hungry. I'll go have him for lunch." Sumeragi replied regretfully, "Poor thing. He should have passed by at another time." Before Sumeragi could finish speaking, Mikoto had already launched Sumeragi's head into the air. Mikoto said to Sumeragi, "He approached me suddenly, so I didn't know what to do except end it with one strike. Was I supposed to pretend to struggle while killing him?" Sumeragi was stunned and asked, "Who are you? How are you this powerful?" Mikoto replied with lethal calm, "I am the one who will wipe out all ghouls." The scene returned to Saltarine and her group, as the sealed ghoul had joined the battle, an enormous tree-like monster. Hawthorne devised a new plan to defeat the gigantic ghoul. He asked Winnie whether she possessed enough power to bring it down, and she replied, "I do, but I'll need some preparation, and enough time to cast it." "Very well," Hawthorne said. He gathered everyone and declared his strategy. "The lizard folk and the elves will surround the giant ghoul until Winnie completes her spell. As for Saltarine, we'll use her as bait for Milia, then Frau and I will attack from behind. The elf commander ordered his soldiers to fight alongside the lizard folk. Realizing the danger threatened everyone equally, all species stood united against the ghouls, which filled Saltarine with joy. She was witnessing unity between different races. But then she heard Mickey from behind saying, "Look! Everyone is united to kill the ghoul! What a joyful sight! For humans, that is!" Saltarine shouted at the top of her voice, calling out to everyone, "Let's form an alliance among us now!" Everyone heard her cry and wondered in disbelief, "Has this girl gone insane?" The tree ghoul wrapped its branches around Saltarine, squeezing her tightly, and said, "Alliance, you're truly an ignorant human. Don't you know that ghouls are born from hatred toward humans? The mere idea of an alliance makes my stomach hurt," as if it had a stomach anyway. The tree ghoul squeezed her harder, adding, "Say alliance again, while you're in my grip." Frau tried saving her, but Milia's ghoul stopped her. Anger overwhelmed Saltarine. Her eyes transformed, and she broke the tree's trunk, shouting, "I'll teach you some manners." Winnie rushed toward her and asked, "Are you all right, Saltarine?" Saltarine replied calmly, "Don't worry, I'm starting to control this power." Meanwhile, after defeating Sumeragi, Makoto tried to kill Sumeragi, but Sumeragi grabbed his sword and said, "Let's talk this out peacefully." Makoto was extremely excited, and things looked ready to escalate. Back to Saltarine, who now glared at Milia's ghoul with murderous intent. The tree ghoul said to her, "Your power is the exact opposite of ghoul energy. That means your existence is a pure mistake." Saltarine was shocked by this truth about herself. The tree ghoul continued, "If you want to create an alliance between us, then kill yourself right here and now." Winnie intervened, shouting, "Don't believe him! He's saying this because he's afraid of you." Saltarine asked her, "Do I really possess the power to kill all ghouls?" Winnie answered calmly, "Yes, all right," Saltarine said decisively. She shouted again, calling out to the tree ghoul and Milia, "I offered you an alliance earlier and you refused. Now I cancel that request. I am commanding you to ally with us, or I will wipe you out this instant." Milia became furious and tied Saltarine with her hair, saying, "I've let you chatter long enough." Saltarine laughed, cut off her hair, and charged forward, landing a punch that knocked Milia to the ground. A wicked smile appeared on Milia's face. The tree ghoul said to Saltarine, "You were laughing just now, weren't you? You must enjoy fighting. I too used to enjoy killing humans like you, Saltarine." Saltarine shot back sharply, "Don't compare yourself to me. I'm not like you. I'm human, and I have feelings." The tree ghoul answered, "Now it's my turn to enjoy myself." But before the fight could begin, he added, "I'll get rid of that useless girl beside you." Saltarine said, "She's not a ghoul like you." The tree ghoul replied, "Maybe she's from my kind, but if she keeps embarrassing herself like this, death is better than life for her." Enraged, Saltarine leapt forward to protect the hair ghoul from his attack and shouted, "I'll end you right now!" Saltarine charged at the massive tree ghoul with all her strength, and with a single blow, obliterated him from the face of the earth. Thus, Saltarine defeated the ghouls for the second time. Her energy was completely drained, and exhaustion was written all over her face. Winnie said to her, "You protected the forest, and all of us here." Everyone thanked her for her heroic deed, and Saltarine was overjoyed. Right before fainting, but Hawthorne noticed that Milia had escaped during the night. That night, all the races celebrated together while Saltarine slept. Mickey sent one of her eyes to inform Sumeragi of what happened, only to find him standing beside Sumeragi's decapitated body. She asked in disbelief, "Who did this to him?" Sumeragi replied, "Mikoto." Mickey was shocked that Sumeragi had survived, and he told her that he managed to negotiate with Mikoto, a negotiation that ended with establishing peace between humans and ghouls. Meanwhile, Mikoto's dog said to him, "This is the first time you've trusted a ghoul. Are you sure about what you've done?" Mikoto answered, "I didn't trust him. My trust lies only in Saltarine." Saltarine awoke and headed to the tavern, where she saw all the races sitting together discussing things peacefully. She watched them with overwhelming joy, pure happiness at its peak. Winnie came to her and said, "Engrave this scene in your memory. It will give you positive strength later." Saltarine replied, "All right." The celebration ended, and the lizard folk commander and the elf returned to the forest. Saltarine sat down and said sadly, "I must leave this place. I shouldn't stay in one location for too long." She continued deeply, "Someone out there is watching my power and testing it. Everywhere I go, misfortune follows. I should travel alone, so no one else gets hurt because of me." Hawthorne looked at her and said, "Alone? What nonsense is that? We're sticking with you no matter what. Right, Frau?" Frau replied, "Of course." Saltarine told them, "But you might get hurt because of me." They responded with firm resolve, "It doesn't matter, as long as we're with our friend." Saltarine was filled with joy, and tears flowed down her cheeks. The next day, everyone prepared to leave and bid farewell to Winnie. She told them, "My door will always be open if you ever wish to return." They continued their journey toward another town. Passed through the gate, the guards warned them that a vampire was in the area, attacking beautiful girls. Saltarine grew anxious and asked them to camp elsewhere, but Hawthorne replied sarcastically, "Beautiful girls, Saltarine. I'm sure he doesn't mean you." He got exactly what he deserved. They entered the city, and hatred was clearly visible in the humans' eyes toward Frau. It was obvious that demi-humans were severely oppressed in this place. Mickey grew furious and said to Saltarine, "Use your power and punish these humans for mocking Frau." But Saltarine refused. "I can't use my power against humans." Mickey became deeply upset and saddened. They reached the hotel to rent a room, but Frau quickly left with Mickey to buy something to cover her ears so she could stay with them. On their way, Frau spotted carrots and couldn't resist. She went to buy some, but the human treated her terribly. After selling them, he threw the money on the ground and forced her to pick it up herself. Mickey witnessed the entire scene. Rage filled her, and she became deeply disgusted by humans. Meanwhile, Saltarine and Hawthorne had reached the room and prepared their things. Hawthorne said to her with worry, "I'm afraid for Mickey. I don't want her to do something she'll regret later. She's with Frau now, and she's witnessing human oppression firsthand. I'm scared of how she'll react." Saltarine responded immediately, "All right, I'll go bring them back." Mickey sat talking to Frau, saying, "Why don't you fight humans after everything they do to you?" Frau replied, "In the past, I did fight and struggle, but now, I only feel at peace when I'm with people like Saltarine." Mickey stood up and said in a sorrowful voice, "I thought Saltarine was different from other humans, but she disappointed my expectations. She has great power, yet she doesn't use it to help her friends against humans." She left Frau and walked away, filled with despair. As she walked, she heard people talking about a vampire, and she realized it was a ghoul, one of her own kind. She climbed to a high place and looked with her eyes. You might ask, how can she still use her eyes after losing her power? She retains a very faint fragment of her ghoul energy and uses it for whatever little she can. Mickey saw where the vampire was and went to him. She met him and told him what Saltarine had done, how she defeated Set and the tree ghoul with a single blow. The ghoul, whose name was Kokichi, grew excited and said, "Very well, I'll kill her then." But Mickey said, "No, I don't want you to kill her. I want you to wipe out everyone in this town." Kokichi answered mockingly, "And am I supposed to slaughter the entire town and spare your friends?" Mickey was terrified. She wanted to say yes, but fear stole the words from her tongue. At that moment, Frau entered and said to Mickey, "Don't push yourself so hard, Mickey." It was obvious that Frau had searched a long time for her until her feet were exhausted. Kokichi glanced at Frau and said, "So you're the demi-human everyone keeps talking about. I'll leave you two for now, so I can finish off Saltarine first." Frau stopped him, shouting, "Where do you think you're going?" The ghoul grew angry, and things were about to explode. At that moment, Saltarine's eyes had transformed, and she was rushing toward the ghoul's location. Frau tried to fight Kokichi, but his superiority was obvious. He grabbed Frau, lifted her, and said, "It's time for you to die." He sank his fangs into her, unleashing his ghoul power through them, and the entire upper half of Frau's body was blown apart. Saltarine arrived and saw the horrifying scene right before her eyes. Fury consumed her. She gathered every last fragment of her strength and struck Kokichi with a powerful punch, making blood spout from his mouth. The ghoul tried to attack her again with his explosive blood, but it was useless. Saltarine said to him, "Ghoul power doesn't affect me, and I don't hold a grudge against your kind, but you are an exception. I will kill you now." Kokichi cut his own hand and manipulated the exploding blood from it, binding Saltarine tightly. He said, "If my power doesn't affect your body, it will affect your clothes." Saltarine froze, unable to move, and he advanced to finish her off as well. Mickey tried throwing a small fragment of her power at him, but it had no effect. He said to her, "Just a moment ago, you were trying to protect humanity." Mickey screamed, "I won't let you kill my friend." Kokichi was moved for a moment, then said, "Then I'll kill you both together," and gathered a massive sphere of blood to end her life. Saltarine said in despair, "Run away," but it was no use. At that very moment, Frau was in another place after her death. A strange girl appeared to her, like an angel, and Frau begged her to restore her body. The girl said, "You've died twice in a single year." Frau answered, "I know, but I have to help my friends." She asked the girl for power to defeat the ghoul, and indeed, Frau returned to where she had been. What happened to Frau, and what is this mystery? It's strange indeed. We'll find out later. Before Kokichi could kill Mickey, he heard Frau's voice behind him. Her body had been restored. 2 black wings spread from her back, her eyes had completely changed, and she looked like a monster. He hurled blood spheres at her, but she swallowed them in a single instant. The ghoul stared at her in shock, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared. Less than a second later, she had already pierced his heart. The ghoul fell to the ground, and Frau collapsed as well, her power fully spent. Saltarine and Mickey were stunned, utterly speechless at what they had just witnessed. The ghoul lay dying and said just before his end, "At last I'll rest, and return to you, Rose." It turned out that this ghoul had lived among humans, hiding his horns within his fangs. He had fallen in love with a human girl, and she had loved him back, and they had lived in perfect happiness. He married her. Ghoul instincts overpowered him, and he killed her unintentionally right after their wedding. That moment was the most painful in his entire life. Before he died, he told them, "Hide Frau from the people now, or trouble will erupt." He wished Mickey a happy life with her friends and said to them, "Farewell," and the day ended like that. The next morning, Frau woke to find the angel beside her. The girl had come to reclaim the power she had given her. Such energy was never meant to remain in the world of the living. Frau cheerfully thanked the angel for what she had done, and the girl took back her power and departed. "I know, my friend, you were waiting for a proper explanation of what happened, but what can we do? That's just how the author decided it." Meanwhile, Saltarine and Mickey went to the market to buy carrots to feed Frau, hoping it would help her recover. But the carrot vendor turned out to be foul-mouthed, and he insulted Frau right in front of Saltarine and Mickey, just because she was a demi-human. Saltarine exploded with rage, landed a single punch that smashed his face, and left him there as they walked away. After seeing this from Saltarine, Mickey's heart was filled with joy, and her affection for Saltarine returned. She realized that Saltarine truly loved her friends and didn't tolerate anyone who hurt them. The two girls went back to the inn and found Frau had returned to her normal state. Everyone was overjoyed and asked her what had happened, but Frau refused to tell them anything. The group decided to leave the city immediately, afraid the soldiers would come after them once they found out Saltarine had punched the vendor. Elsewhere, Mikoto was walking through the forest at night when he sensed someone following him with murderous intent. He prepared to confront the pursuer, only to find it was Milia, still shaken and terrified from Saltarine's brutal beating. Mikoto took her in and cooked her a meal. Milia sat down and ate, completely amnesiac after what had happened. He fed her until she fell asleep. While she slept, Mikoto went over, removed her hat, and realized she was a ghoul. He readied his sword to kill her, but his dog stopped him and said, "She's just a pitiful girl. You shouldn't kill her." Mikoto grew angry at his dog and raised his sword toward him, but the dog was hurt by this, and Mikoto came back to his senses. He dropped his weapon and covered the girl's face again. He apologized to the dog for raising his blade against him. The two continued their journey, killing the ghouls they encountered. Each time Milia heard the word ghouls, she was struck by a severe headache, and her memories slowly began to return. Mikoto took her along, leading her toward the neighboring town. On the way, they were confronted by a ghoul who had come specifically to kill Milia, accusing her of abandoning the tree ghoul and running away from the battle when she should have died at his side. Mikoto told the ghoul, "She's just a priestess who's lost her memory." The ghoul raged and shouted at Milia, and with his shouting, all of her memories came crashing back. Once her memory returned, she said to him, "I'll kill you now." But the ghoul cut her down with his sword. Mikoto stood beside them and said, "Finish your fight. Whoever survives, I'll kill her." Milia was stunned by his words. She grabbed her horn, ripped it off and said, "I'm no longer a ghoul. You must save me." Then she collapsed unconscious. In her coma, Milia remembered Saltarine, the moment Saltarine defeated her, and thought, "I don't want to die. I want to see her again." And indeed, she woke up to find Mikoto had treated her wounds. As for the other ghoul, he had been so terrified of Mikoto that he ran away. How ironic. He had mocked Milia for running, only to do exactly the same himself. Milia thanked Mikoto for saving her, and told him she would travel with him from now on and never leave his side again. And so the day came to an end. Sometime later, Hawthorne entered a sword-fighting tournament, not because of his amazing skills, my friend, but because they had run out of money and desperately needed the prize to fund their journey. After watching several rounds of Hawthorne's matches, Saltarine and the girls grew bored and went for a walk. While they walked, Frau told them that Hawthorne's real motive for joining the competition wasn't the money, but his desire to become stronger so he could protect himself and his friends. Mickey was moved by her words and said, "In the past, I used to fight humans mercilessly, but now I'm starting to feel something different toward them." Frau patted her head and said, "Well done, Mickey." While they were talking, Mikoto walked past them. Saltarine saw him and ran after him, following with difficulty. Mikoto brought her a cup of water and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I couldn't get anything but water right now." Then he explained why he was broke. "Milia spent all my money on food recently, and I demanded she pay her own expenses. That's why she decided to enter the tournament and win the entire prize herself. Everyone is financially doomed now, my friend." Meanwhile, the ghoul who fled from Mikoto arrived before Sumeragi apologizing. "I'm sorry, I couldn't kill him." Sumeragi replied, "I know you ran from him once you realized he was stronger than you. Didn't I tell you I observe everything?" At that moment, a little girl appeared, a child with ghoul features. She approached the ghoul and said, "Carry me." The ghoul was confused, but Sumeragi introduced her as the mask ghoul, the one who created Samenk. Realizing her importance, the ghoul lifted her onto his back. They climbed up to a special ritual ground used to summon the 100 Ghouls circle. All the ghouls gathered, wondering why they had been summoned. Sumeragi explained the reason. The number of ghouls has drastically decreased recently because of a single human named Mikoto. The ghouls became furious, refusing to believe it. But the old ghoul confirmed Sumeragi's words, saying, "He killed a corpse of ghouls right in front of me. Oh dear, you're still alive? I thought you died at the start." Then a small boy appeared and said to Sumeragi, "Why are you scaring us? We must unite and kill him." Sumeragi pulled out Samenk's severed head and told them that Mikoto defeated him with a single strike despite his strength. This deeply affected Todoroki, who was a ghoul himself. Sumeragi continued his lies. "I know you used to love Miki, but I don't want to shock you. Mikoto killed her as well. Brutally. He crushed her eyes and broke her horn." Todoroki was devastated, then furious. He shouted, "I will kill Mikoto myself!" And he rushed toward the city where Mikoto was located. All the ghouls wished Todoroki luck, and the meeting ended. I still don't know why that damn Sumeragi won't stop lying. After the meeting, Josie went to Samenk, returned his mask to him, and told Sumeragi she agreed to help him with his plan to form an alliance with the humans. Though she seemed extremely naive and clueless about what was really happening. They finished speaking and Josie left, telling him, "If you need anything, call me again." The next day, Josie went to the city. She encountered Hawthorne on the road and said, "Carry me." Hawthorne stared at her in confusion. "Who is this now?" He approached her and said, "Are you lost, little one?" She replied, "I am Josie, Queen of Masks, and I am searching for Sumeragi." Hawthorne answered sarcastically, "Well, I'm the king of jokes. Nice to meet you. Anyway, I have a tournament now and I'm busy. But fine, I'll take you to your precious Sumeragi." He escorted her to Sumeragi, and the two acted as if they had never met before. Sumeragi remained suspicious and unclear in his intentions. He then requested that Josie cheer for Hawthorne during the competition, since he brought her safely. She agreed, and Hawthorne left. When Hawthorne reached the tournament, he found Josie cheering for him from the stands. His excitement ignited, and he resolved to crush anyone who stood in his way. Meanwhile, Saltarine was standing outside the competition area because the cheering noise annoyed her. Then Sumeragi appeared before her to speak with her. Saltarine stared at him in confusion. She had no idea who he was. He told her, "I've come to help you form an alliance between humans and ghouls." He extended his hand, inviting her to join him. Makoto overheard them. He burst in angrily and told Saltarine to stay away from Sumeragi, calling him dangerous. He said, "Powerful ghoul, with enormous influence among the ghouls." Sumeragi replied, "That's an even greater reason for you to join me." But Makoto countered, "No, join me instead, and we'll exterminate all the ghouls on Earth." Saltarine stood confused, torn between the two. After thinking deeply, Saltarine decided to side with Makoto. She walked toward him and said, "I don't support killing all ghouls, but I'll join you." When she shook his hand, Makoto recoiled in fear and said, "You shouldn't have chosen me." Then he ran away, completely panicked for reasons no one understood. Saltarine chased him to find out what was wrong. He stopped and said, "Do you remember the story I told you about the boy whose parents were killed by ghouls?" She replied, "I remember." He said, "I was that boy. Every day my hatred for ghouls grows stronger. That's why I kill them. But no matter how many I kill, the fire inside me never calms. It only burns hotter. So I keep killing and killing. You want humans and ghouls to live together, but I cannot achieve that." Saltarine said, "But I want to travel with you, Makoto." Before she could finish, a massive explosion blasted through the city wall. Todoroki and his forces had arrived to avenge Miki. The townspeople panicked and fled in terror. Todoroki and his men spread through the city, searching for Makoto. Among them was a ghoul who came only to sleep. I don't know whether he came to attack or take a nap. After the explosion, guards rushed to cancel the tournament and shouted, "Anyone who kills a ghoul will earn double the prize money." Everyone grew excited, except Hawthorne, who knew the true strength of ghouls and quietly withdrew. As he walked away, a man approached him and said he would accompany him. Hawthorne recognized him and said, "You're Persis, aren't you?" The man replied, "Exactly. Good to know you still remember me." This is the guy who lost instantly to Hawthorne in the competition, barely landing a single sword swing. Persis told Hawthorne, "I'm going to kill the ghouls and take the prize money to surprise my family." How can you fight ghouls when you couldn't last 1 second against Hawthorne? It seems excitement blinded him. But before he could move an inch, lightning struck him, and Persis died instantly right in front of Hawthorne. "Farewell, foolish man." After Persis was struck down, Todoroki appeared, staring in disbelief. "I was planning to kill both of you, but that giant fool took the entire hit by himself." "Prepare to die, Makoto." Hawthorne stepped forward, answering without hesitation, "I don't know who this Makoto is that you're talking about, but after killing Persis, I won't let you walk away." At the same moment, Miki and Frau heard the thunderous roar echoing outside. Miki released one of her remaining eyes to scout the area, quickly discovering the incoming demons, Todoroki among them, heading straight toward Hawthorne to finish him. Meanwhile, Saltarine heard the explosion from afar. Makoto was seconds away from charging out to slaughter every demon he could find, and Saltarine couldn't shake the suspicion forming in her mind. Could this be Sumeragi's plan? Before she could finish the thought, Sumeragi appeared behind her. Saltarine snapped, "Isn't this a demon attack? Aren't you the one who wants peace between humans and demons?" Sumeragi smirked. "Correct, but I'm not in the mood to speak with the girl who didn't choose me. Still, I'll tell you this much. 4 demons are tearing the city apart. The strongest, Todoroki, went straight to kill your weakest companion. Hawthorne, I believe? Shouldn't you hurry? Oh, and one more thing. I won't let you pass since you didn't choose me." Saltarine clenched her fists. "So I have to defeat you first?" "Exactly," Sumeragi replied. Elsewhere, Mikoto had tracked down the sleeping demon, but the moment he unsheathed his sword, a strange force washed over him, knocking him unconscious beside his target. The demon could put to sleep anyone who intended to kill it. Back on the streets, Mickey and Frau split up, both racing to reach Hawthorne. Frau, however, was intercepted mid-run by a huge eagle demon. "Chaos everywhere," the demon growled. "I won't let you get anywhere near Todoroki." At the same time, Saltarine launched herself at Sumeragi with full strength, achieving absolutely nothing. Mickey, on her own path, ran into a tall demon with long ears. "What are you all doing here? What did humans ever do for you to attack?" she demanded. The demon froze. You're alive? We came to avenge your death, to kill the one who ended you." Mickey blinked. "Avenge me? I'm literally standing right here," the demon insisted. "You don't understand anything. Todoroki." The demon clearly couldn't express the full truth. Todoroki cared deeply about her. Mickey interrupted him. "Since I'm alive, will you stop the attack?" The demon grinned. "If you stay alive, maybe." But he lunged, aiming straight for her heart. On Hawthorne's side, Todoroki launched a violent storm of lightning. Hawthorne parried the strikes using only his battered sword, dodging left and right with desperate footwork. Then Hawthorne made his move. "It's time," he whispered, before abruptly running away. Todoroki roared. "After all that talk, you run? I'll tear you apart." He charged after him, only to fall into Hawthorne's trap. Hawthorne pivoted, smashing Todoroki's skull with the blunt side of his sword. The demon's hat fell to the ground. The moment Todoroki saw it, memories of Mickey flashed through his mind. She had given him that hat. She was the only demon who ever treated him kindly. His rage exploded. "You killed Mickey the same way, didn't you? I'll rip you to pieces." Meanwhile, Frau's battle was spiraling downward. The eagle demon pinned her with his talons and fired his devastating cannon blast, leaving her crushed and bleeding. Back with Mickey, she lay on the ground as the long-eared demon loomed over her. "Humans will never accept a monster like me," he said bitterly. "Even if Todoroki could coexist with them, I never could." Mickey clenched her fists. "Then I'll take you down myself." She attacked with all her remaining strength, but his elastic body absorbed every blow. The demon countered, forcing her into a frantic struggle to survive. Todoroki, at the height of his fury, summoned his full demonic form, a monstrous avatar towering above the city. He gathered an immense lightning cannon meant to erase Hawthorne from existence. Hawthorne whispered to himself, "Looks like I'm dying today, but at least I can buy time until my friends arrive." He sprinted towards certain death. And then, a hand appeared from nowhere, blocking the lightning completely. Winnie. She stood between them effortlessly, the lightning crackling against her palm like raindrops. Everyone froze. Winnie stepped toward Hawthorne and handed him a glowing blade. "I saw you fighting with a wooden stick earlier. Take this, a real weapon, one that can cut anything. Lightning, demon flesh, anything." The sword pulsed in Hawthorne's hand, alive with power. Todoroki laughed. "A joke. You expect that to help him?" He created a sword of pure lightning and charged. Hawthorne met him head-on and split the lightning in half. Driven past the limit, Todoroki prepared his final, terrifying cannon. Hawthorne felt fear creep into his bones, but Winnie's whispered voice echoed in his mind. "Hold the sword with faith, and you can win." Todoroki unleashed the attack. Hawthorne slashed and shattered the cannon in a single strike. The blade carved deep into Todoroki, sending him collapsing in defeat. Hawthorne had won. Meanwhile, Frau's body trembled violently as she lay dying, but the fragment of angelic power Atra left within her reawakened. Her limbs blackened, wings of shadow spread behind her. Frau rose like a monster reincarnated. In a blur of movement, she severed the eagle demon's wing, then his head. The battle was over. Exhausted, emptied of all power, Frau collapsed beside the corpse. Returning to Mickey, she was still completely helpless against the stretching demon. Its elastic body made her attacks useless. But suddenly, a plan formed in her mind. She sprinted as fast as she could toward the city wall, forcing the demon to chase her. The demon threw a massive punch at her, but she dodged it at the last moment. His entire arm got stuck inside the wall. Perfect. Mickey pretended she was about to fire a demon cannon at him. The demon froze in terror. Of course, Mickey didn't actually have the power to fire a cannon. She just wanted to scare him. She then gathered the last spark of strength she had, struck the demon with all her force, and slammed him into the wall. Because the stone barrier was behind him, his body couldn't stretch. And he was defeated by Mickey as well. But after the win, Mickey's eyes dimmed with sorrow. The demon had admitted his fear, that he was too ugly for anyone, human or demon, to befriend. Unlike Todoroki, who looked more human and still had hope, the stretching demon believed he had no one. Meanwhile, Saltarine was still facing Sumeragi. He knocked her down with a single punch, sending her crashing into the dirt. Saltarine pushed herself back up, grit her teeth, and shouted, "I have to defeat you. I need to reach my friends." She gathered her power. "I'll force my way through if I have to." Suddenly, Sumeragi raised his hand casually. "Fine, I surrender. Go on. Catch up to them at your own pace." Saltarine blinked in confusion, but she accepted his retreat, desperate to join her companions. Before she left, she turned back. "Once I fix the situation with Mikoto, I'll be the one to extend my hand to you for cooperation." Sumeragi smiled faintly and nodded. But when Saltarine finally arrived at the battlefield, every fight had already ended. Everyone was safe, and she was late to everything. The next morning, Miki woke Todoroki after his wounds had been treated. "Welcome back," she said softly. Todoroki opened his eyes slowly, thinking he had died, because Miki was right beside him. But she told him she was alive, and so was he. Todoroki burst into tears, overwhelmed with joy. A scene so touching, even the birds would cry. Nearby, Saltarine sat with Hawthorne, discussing the events of the previous night. She still couldn't understand how Hawthorne managed to defeat someone like Todoroki on his own. Hawthorne explained everything, including Winnie's role. Saltarine was thrilled that Winnie was still watching over them. Just then, Winnie told the group about their next destination, Ligedia, a town where humans, demons, demi-humans, and every race lived together without discrimination. Everyone agreed instantly, excited for a place with true equality. The next day, Winnie said her goodbyes and cast a teleportation spell to return to the forest, promised she would visit them again. After she vanished, Saltarine approached Todoroki and invited him to join her journey. She was determined to form an alliance between humans and demons. Todoroki hesitated, but eventually agreed. However, he insisted he would travel alone, not with the group. He would do what he could to support her dream from the shadows. Man, seriously? Leaving Mickey after all that? He said farewell to everyone and went off by himself. On his way out of town, he bumped into Sumeragi. Todoroki glared at him. "Why did you lie to me and tell me Mickey was dead?" Sumeragi shrugged. "Because I felt like it. Deal with it." Todoroki exploded in rage, but before he could even lift a hand, Sumeragi stabbed him from behind and ended Todoroki's life. He dropped the corpse like trash. "Go talk to your friends and give them my regards," he said mockingly, referring to the dead friends waiting on the other side. Then he announced his next destination, Ligedia, and walked away. After the battle ended, Milia hurried to find Mikoto to wake him from the sleep spell cast by the sleeping demon. While Mikoto slept, the memories of his past resurfaced. To understand Mikoto's past, his story must be told from the beginning. Long ago, an elderly man lived with his wife in a quiet village. One day, the husband went out hunting, and the wife went to wash clothes by the river. As she scrubbed the laundry, she noticed something floating downstream, a giant peach-shaped boat drifting toward her. Inside it was a baby. She took the child home, and the couple raised him as their own, naming him Mikoto. When Mikoto grew up, he left home to search for his real parents and to discover why he had been abandoned in the river. On his journey, he encountered a dog on the roadside. He gave it a piece of dango to eat. To Mikoto's shock, the dog spoke like a human. The dog thanked him and asked to accompany him in his travels. Mikoto agreed. They traveled until they reached a nearby village. Mikoto shared his purpose. He wanted to find his real parents. The dog simply nodded. Suddenly, terrified screams echoed through the village. People were shouting. A demon had appeared. Mikoto ran toward the cries. He was horrified by what he saw. A demon devouring the villagers and reaching for a small child next. The dog begged Mikoto to run, but Mikoto tightened his grip. "I can't run away and let a child die in front of me." He shouted at the demon to stop. The demon glared at him and charged, intending to kill him. Mikoto's entire body trembled with fear. The demon's strike came. The dog turned away, certain Mikoto had died. But then, a roar ripped from Mikoto's throat. A strange power surged through him, filling his limbs with overwhelming strength. He counterattacked, slashing the demon in a single blow. Everyone was astonished. The people celebrated him as a hero. In that moment, Mikoto's eyes changed, a heart-shaped gleam appearing within them. From that day forward, villages began calling for Mikoto to slay demons. He forgot his original purpose and killed every demon he encountered. Eventually, he reached the island of the Demon King. He defeated him and severed his arm. The Demon King swore one thing: "Since you defeated me, the demons will never gather against humans again. But beware, Mikoto. The Kishi will come for you. Makoto pretended to be calm, but fear settled in his heart. Seeking safety, he built himself a home deep in the forest. He trained and waited for the promised Kishi. A life of crushing loneliness followed. One night, a demon came to him, not to fight, but to beg. I can disguise myself among humans, and I fell in love with a woman. We married and we had a child, but my demonic instincts, I killed her by accident. Kill me, before I kill my son too. Makoto hesitated, but the demon begged relentlessly. Eventually, Makoto granted his request and ended his life. He then rushed to the village to find the child. He found the boy tied to a tree, villagers striking him mercilessly. Makoto demanded, "Why are you hurting him?" They shouted, "Because he's a demon. Look at the horn on his head." Makoto asked, "Did he harm any of you?" The villagers yelled, "Stay back, we're going to kill him." Makoto looked at the boy, who whispered, "I'm sorry for being born." The words pierced Makoto's heart. He shouted at the villagers, "From today on, this child is under my protection. No one touches him again." He brought the boy to his home in the forest. The moment they entered, the boy said, "I'm tired of living. Everyone hates me. Please, kill me and end it." Makoto looked at him quietly. "Don't you want to avenge your father?" Then he confessed, "I killed him." He handed the boy his sword. "If you want revenge, kill me." The boy remembered his father smiling at him. He swung the sword, but it couldn't harm Makoto. Demon power had no effect on Makoto's body. Makoto said, "You're weak now. You can't kill me yet. I'll raise you until the day you're strong enough to cut me down." The boy glared, "I will kill you and avenge my father," then turned away and went to sleep. After the boy left the room, the dog approached Makoto and asked quietly, "Why didn't you tell him the truth? Why didn't you tell him his father asked you to kill him?" Makoto lowered his gaze. "That boy has suffered enough. He lost his family, and the people treated him worse than a monster. His entire life has been filled with hatred." He clenched his fist. "I want all that hatred to be directed at me, and me alone." What a heartbreaking sacrifice. But the boy wasn't asleep. He had heard every word exchanged between Makoto and the dog. From that day on, the two lived together. Makoto no longer felt the crushing loneliness that had filled his life before. But peace never lasts long, because the Kishi had finally arrived, and he was here to kill Makoto. When Makoto sensed the Kishi's presence, he immediately went to the young boy. "Listen," he said gently. "No matter what happens, smile. Laugh in the face of hardship. As long as you do that, I will always be with you, and I will always protect you." Then he left to confront the Kishi. The fight was brutal. The Kishi sliced off Makoto's arm, then his leg. Makoto was barely holding on, yet he refused to fall. With the last of his strength, he gripped his sword between his teeth and slashed the Kishi across the face. But his energy drained completely, and he collapsed on the ground, unable to move. Meanwhile, the boy had managed to escape the dog's attempts to stop him. He followed the scent and reached the battlefield, only to find Makoto lying in a pool of blood. Makoto smiled faintly. "So, you came after all?" The boy knelt beside him, trembling. "What did he do to you?" Makoto whispered. "Your journey begins now. You must learn to accept yourself, or you will never be able to walk beside others." The boy sobbed. "Life has no meaning without you." Makoto reached out with the last spark of his strength. "As long as you laugh, you will find me beside you, and I will protect you." At that moment, Makoto's power flowed into the boy's body. The Kishi ignited his full strength and detonated the area, intending to kill them both. But as the dust settled, the boy walked through the explosion, holding Makoto's sword. The demonic power from his blood fused with the power Makoto had given him, and in a flash, he severed the Kishi's arm. Before the Kishi could speak another word, the boy's horn grew larger, sharper, and he slashed the Kishi clean in half. In that moment, the boy made his decision. He would take the name Makoto, and he would devote his life to hunting down every demon that had twisted this world with destruction. A new resolve was born, a new Makoto was born, and so, the anime ends. We don't know when the next season will be released, but the moment it drops, we'll recap it immediately. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.